25 migrants who've been waiting to step foot in the United States finally did so today. They're the first to be released from the Trump administration's Remain in Mexico policy, which forced people seeking asylum to stay in Mexico until their immigration court hearings here in the U.S. The Biden administration has now reversed that policy. Individuals were required to test for COVID-19 before entering the United States. And President Biden is hoping to do something no president has accomplished in 35 years, getting comprehensive immigration reform passed by Congress.
Yeah, the president says his bill will focus on border management with smart investments, address the root causes of irregular immigration from Central America, and create an earned path to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants, including dreamers, farm workers, and TPS holders. Both the Florida senators, though, have criticized this bill. In fact, Senator Marco Rubio called it, quote, blanket amnesty for people who are here unlawfully. Joining us now is Michael Fernandez, founder and chairman of the Immigration Partnership and Coalition. Good of you to be with us. Thank you.
So, thank you for having me.
Democratic progressives and immigration advocates just love this bill. However, Republicans are saying this really could be potentially catastrophic. What are your thoughts on this being passed and proposed?
Well, I am neither a Republican nor a Democrat, and I believe that is a step in the right direction. This clearly is an earned path for the 11 million people in this country who are contributors to our economy, who are wage earners, who are taxpayers, and they're our neighbors today. So I do believe it is the right step, and these are, whether it is the perfect proposal or imperfect proposal, but it is a proposal to move forward on, and we support it.
And how specifically does the bill address immigration challenges that we face here in South Florida?
Well, we have to remember that South Florida does not border any foreign country. South Florida is mostly surrounded by water, and you have northern states just above us. So the greatest impact for us in South Florida are the DACA recipients, as well as those that are benefiting from temporary protective services, TPS. There's 71,000 DACA recipients who are children who came to the U.S. by being brought here by their parents of no choice of their own, that have been raised their whole life in Florida or the United States. They have no connections to their former countries, and they're as much of an American as my children are, being raised here. And today they're taxpayers or they're students, and they're contributors to our economy. The other one is temporary protected services status. Those TPS beneficiaries are also people that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years or more, and then in the vast majority, citizens that are, or residents that are law-abiding residents. 70% of our undocumented residents are essential workers, front line in our pandemic recovery. They work in agriculture and they work in healthcare. They have earned it, and they need to understand what a clear path is, and they think they now have a vision of what is being offered. The bill is one first great step to reinstate humanity and caring to the system of immigration that has been missing with that human touch for such a long time, the last 4 years at least.
Unlike previous efforts, the bill does not include a large focus on increased border enforcement, but it does include investment technology, infrastructure, as well as agent training. Far different than the Trump administration's plan and what was put into place. How does this president win Republican buy-in?
Well, it is by speaking to them and reaching out to them, but they have to be logical. Both sides have to be logical and pragmatic. The past administration tried to implement a medieval solution by building walls. That solution did not work in the Middle Ages, as we can see that castles and cities were overrun by whoever was trying to take them over. There are more common sense solutions in today's technology to help us deal with the issue of technology, added personnel, as well as a process that is accepted by Americans as acceptable. Look, I am a U.S. citizen. I am American. My children are also citizens of this country. And we want border. We want security in our borders. But let us not use a primitive solution to it. Let us look for tomorrow's answers and implement those.
In the previous administration, one of the big headline makers of the immigration policy of the Trump administration was the separation of families at the borders. But recently, President Biden established a task force for the reunification of those families that were separated during the Trump administration. Are you hearing anything about how this is going? Are people being brought back together?
I have not heard anything new in the last month. Obviously, the president has been in office for a short time, but this is a great first step. This task force is made up of both the State Department and Homeland Security, and they are to coordinate the unifications of those families. It is hard to believe that what is legal sometimes is not moral. And we have seen this in wars. We have seen it in other countries that laws are passed, even in our own. Slavery was legal, but was not moral. The separation of children from family was an immoral act. And the whole purpose of the task force is to find solutions. Let's give them time. They've only been at it for a few weeks.
All right, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas now heads up the DHS. What kind of impact do you think he'll have on strategies?
Well, first of all, I've known him personally for a number of years, and he's a pragmatic, very smart, and he's a doer. He's not a talker, he's a doer. He's a man that implemented the last set of policies in record time without a blip and without criticism from either the Republicans or the Democrats. I think Secretary Mayorkas is going to do a fantastic job, and we should be proud as Cuban Americans that he's one of ours.
All right, Michael Fernandez, founder and chairman of the Immigration Partnership and Coalition. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure.